Daniel never thought a wedding could change his life. He was only a guest, an outsider invited to witness an alien tradition. The temple was huge, built of shining crystal walls that glowed with soft blue light. Alien music echoed like whispers of stars, strange but beautiful. The sisters, Lyra and Ceres, stood at the center of the altar, their silver eyes glowing in the sacred fire. Daniel stood behind them, unsure of what to do, his heart racing from the sheer wonder of it all. He was told to simply watch, nothing more. But in alien culture, one wrong move could mean everything. As the priest spoke in a deep voice, he raised his hand in a gesture of blessing. Daniel, confused, thought it was a signal for him too. He copied the movement, his hand rising into the air. The crowd gasped. Voices spread like fire. Daniel felt the heavy silence, but did not understand why. The priest's eyes glowed brighter. His voice thundered through the temple. The vow has been made. The bond is sealed. Daniel froze. His hand still lifted, his mouth dry. What bond? What vow? He whispered to himself. But it was already too late. Lyra turned to him slowly, her calm face unreadable. Sarah spun around, anger flashing in her silver eyes. "You, what have you done?" she hissed, her voice sharp like lightning. The priest bowed low. "By the sacred fire, the human is now joined with the sisters. He is their mate." The crowd erupted, half in cheers, half in shock. Daniel's knees almost gave way. He wanted to shout, to deny, but words would not come. Lyra placed a hand on her sister's arm, stopping Ceres from speaking further. "This is fate," she said softly, her voice like calm water. But Ceres shook her head violently. "No, this is a mistake. He is not one of us." Daniel's mind spun in circles. He had only raised his hand, nothing more. How could a simple gesture bind him to two alien sisters? He wanted to laugh at the absurdity, but fear gripped his chest tighter than any rope. The ceremony moved forward as if nothing could be undone. Alien chants filled the temple, and glowing threads of light wrapped around Daniel's wrist, connecting him to the sisters. He pulled back, but the threads followed, sinking into his skin. The bond was alive, pulsing with heat and strange energy. The crowd bowed in respect, the mistake now sacred law. Daniel's heart thundered. His life had changed in a single heartbeat. When the ritual ended, he was led out of the temple beside Lyra and Ceres. The alien crowd stared at him, some with awe, others with suspicion. Whispers followed them like shadows. A human bound to two sisters. It has never happened before. Daniel felt like an animal on display, trapped in a story he did not choose. Outside, under the twin moons, Daniel tried to speak. This is a misunderstanding. I didn't mean to." Ceres cut him off with fire in her words. "You humiliated us. You turned a sacred day into chaos." Lyra looked at him with steady eyes. Whether mistake or destiny, the bond cannot be broken now. Daniel shook his head. "But I don't even know your people. I don't know your customs." The bond pulsed on his wrist, burning softly like a reminder. "You will learn," Lyra said, calm as always. Ceres turned away, her shoulders tense. "Where you will destroy us all." That night, Daniel sat alone in a chamber offered to him. The walls shimmered with alien light, but he felt cold inside. He touched the glowing mark on his wrist. It throbbed like a second heartbeat. For a moment, he thought he could feel something else. Not his own emotion, but fear, sadness, and anger. Were they the sisters' feelings? He pulled his hand away quickly, trembling. The door slid open. Lyra stepped inside, her long silver hair catching the moonlight. "You are afraid," she said softly, "but so are we." Daniel stared at her, unable to answer. Lyra came closer. "I do not believe in accidents. Perhaps the fire chose you for a reason." He shook his head. "I don't want this. I just want my old life back." Lyra placed a gentle hand on his arm, her touch warm against his confusion. "Old life or not, you are bound to us now. Human," she whispered. Her words cut deep into Daniel's chest. A mistake at the altar had sealed his fate forever. And outside the chamber, Saris listened in silence, her fists clenched. Her heart burned with both anger and something she could not name. The story had only just begun, but Daniel was already caught in a web of destiny, love, and danger. The palace of the alien world was full of light and shadows. Tall crystal towers reached into the sky, and the sound of strange birds filled the air. Daniel walked between Lyra and Saris, but the space between them felt heavier than the entire sky. The bond on his wrist pulsed faintly, a reminder that he could not escape. Inside the great hall, alien nobles whispered among themselves. Some looked at Daniel with curiosity, some with disgust, and others with fear. A human bound to two sisters was unheard of, and no one knew what it meant for their people. The council had declared the bond unbreakable, and that made Daniel both valuable and dangerous. Lyra kept her calm, her face still like water. She guided Daniel with soft words, explaining small details of their customs. "Bow when they bow," she whispered. "Do not speak unless spoken to." Her voice was like a teacher's, patient, careful, as if she wanted him to survive this world. Saris, on the other hand, walked with fire in her steps. Her silver eyes burned with anger every time Daniel made a mistake. When he bowed too late, she hissed under her breath, "You shame us." When he spoke out of turn, she muttered, "Do you even listen?" Daniel felt trapped between them, one trying to shield him, the other ready to tear him apart. At dinner, the tension grew worse. The nobles feasted on glowing fruits and steaming crystal dishes. Daniel struggled to eat. The food was alive with sparks of energy. He coughed, the taste strange and bitter. The nobles laughed softly, mocking him. Lyra placed her hand on his and said gently, "He is still learning. Give him time." But Sarah slammed her cup on the table. "He has no time. He is supposed to be our mate, not a helpless child." The words cut deep, and Daniel lowered his head, ashamed. The bond on his wrist throbbed painfully, almost as if it absorbed Sarah's anger. For a moment, he thought he could feel her emotions, her pride, her frustration, and something hidden beneath. Lyra noticed his discomfort, her calm eyes softening. She placed her hand on his shoulder, and the pain faded. Daniel realized then that the bond connected them more than he understood. Later that night, the sisters argued in the chamber. Daniel sat silently, caught between their voices. Lyra's voice was calm but firm. "He did not choose this, Saris. Neither did we. But the bond is real, and it must be respected." Saris shouted back, her eyes blazing. "Respected? He ruined our ceremony. He made us a joke. The clans will laugh at us forever," Lyra replied. "Or they will fear us, for no one can challenge a bond blessed by the sacred fire." Saris turned away, her fists tight. "I will never accept him, not as my mate, not as my equal." Daniel wanted to speak, to tell them he did not want this either, but his voice stayed locked in his chest. Instead, he sat in silence, listening to their words echo like thunder in the chamber. He felt their emotions flow through the bond. Lyra's calm determination, Saris' burning rage. And beneath it all, a strange pull, a connection that grew stronger the more he tried to ignore it. The next day, Saris tested him. She dragged him to the training grounds, where alien warriors practiced with glowing spears. "Fight," she commanded, tossing him a weapon heavier than anything he had ever held. Daniel stumbled. "I don't know how." "Then learn," Saris snapped, "or die." She attacked him with speed and fire, her strikes sharp and merciless. Daniel blocked clumsily, his arms trembling under the weight of her strength. The warriors laughed, watching the human struggle. Lyra stepped forward. "Saris, enough, you will kill him." But Saris' eyes burned with fury. "If he is truly bound to us, then he must prove it." The bond flared in Daniel's wrist, sending heat through his veins. Suddenly, he moved faster, his arms stronger, his mind clearer. He blocked Saris' next strike with surprising force. The crowd gasped. Saris froze for a second, her eyes widening. For the first time, Daniel saw shock in her face. The bond had given him strength, not his own. Perhaps something new. Lyra smiled softly, pride shining in her calm eyes. But Saris lowered her weapon slowly, her anger breaking into confusion. For a moment, she looked at Daniel not with hate, but with something deeper. Then she turned away quickly, hiding her expression. The rivalry was far from over, but the bond had already started to change them all. That night, Daniel lay awake in his chamber. He touched the mark on his wrist, feeling the faint hum of life inside it. He did not know what the future held, but he knew one thing. He was no longer just a guest, no longer just a mistake. He was part of something larger, dangerous, and unstoppable. And the rivalry of two alien sisters was only the beginning. Daniel woke to the sound of bells echoing across the alien city. The twins' suns were rising, their light painting the crystal towers in gold and silver. For a moment, he forgot where he was until the bond on his wrist pulsed again, reminding him of everything. Two alien sisters, a sacred vow, and a mistake that had turned his life into something he could not escape. Lyra entered his chamber with her usual calm expression, carrying a robe of soft silver cloth. "Wear this," she said. "Today you must walk among the people." Daniel hesitated. "Do I really have to?" Lyra's voice stayed gentle but firm. "You are bound to us, Daniel. The people must see you, even if they do not yet accept you." Saris was already waiting outside, her arms crossed, her silver eyes burning with impatience. "Try not to embarrass us this time," she muttered. Daniel sighed, but he followed them through the palace gates into the heart of the city. The streets were alive with color. Glowing banners floated in the air. Strange animals with wings of light walked freely among the crowd. Everywhere Daniel went, eyes followed him. Whispers chased his steps. "Is that the human? Two sisters bound to one outsider. What curse is this?" Some voices were filled with curiosity, others with anger, and a few with fear. At the market, Saris pushed him toward a stall of glowing fruits. "Eat," she commanded. Daniel picked one up. It pulsed faintly like a beating heart. He took a bite, the taste sharp and sweet, the juice glowing on his lips. The crowd gasped softly, some stepping back, others leaning closer. Lyra explained, "The fruit shares memory. If you eat it, you feel its past." Daniel's eyes widened as strange visions filled his mind. Rain falling on crystal leaves, the warmth of twin suns, the laughter of children not his own. He stumbled, overwhelmed, and Lyra steadied him. "Breathe," she whispered, her hand warm on his arm. But Sarah smirked. "Pathetic, even fruit defeats him." Daniel felt heat rise in his chest, frustration and shame mixing inside him. The bond on his wrist throbbed, and suddenly he felt Sarah's hidden emotion too. Her pride, her fear of weakness, her desperate need to prove herself. He stared at her, surprised, and she quickly turned away, pretending she had said nothing. Later, they visited the temple square, where children played with floating lights. One small alien child ran up to Daniel, touching his robe with wide silver eyes. "Are you really there, mate?" the child asked softly. Daniel knelt down, unsure of what to say. I guess I am." The child smiled, then ran back to the others, laughing. For the first time, Daniel felt something shift in the air. Some people smiled, some frowned, but they no longer looked only with suspicion. That evening, the council summoned them. An elder with glowing eyes spoke. "The bond between human and sisters is strange, but it is law. Still, unity must be proven, or the clans will rise against you." Lyra bowed gracefully. "We will prove it." Saris clenched her fists but nodded. Daniel swallowed hard, his heart racing. "Prove it how?" The elder's voice echoed. "You will live among us. You will take part in our trials. You will learn our ways. And if you fail, the bond will break, and so will your life." The sisters led Daniel out of the council hall, the weight of the words pressing on all of them. In the quiet of the garden, Lyra turned to him. "This is not only about survival, Daniel. It is about belonging. Saris scoffed. He will never belong. He will only drag us down. Daniel snapped for the first time. I never asked for this, didn't choose it, but I'm still here, so stop treating me like dirt. Both sisters froze, shocked by the strength in his voice. The bond glowed faintly, heat running through all three of them, connecting their emotions together. For a heartbeat, Daniel felt their hearts at once. Lyra's calm but hidden doubt, Saris' rage mixed with loneliness, and his own fear blending with theirs. Silence filled the garden, broken only by the sound of alien birds in the trees. Finally, Lyra spoke softly. Perhaps the bond is not a mistake after all. Saris turned away, her voice sharp but weaker. We will see. That night, Daniel stood on the balcony, watching the alien stars burn across the sky. He touched the mark on his wrist, feeling the steady hum inside it. He was caught in a world not his own, bound to two sisters who could not even agree on his worth. But deep inside, he knew something had changed. The culture, the bond, the emotions, it was no longer only survival. It was becoming something more, something dangerous, something he could not yet name. The nights on the alien world were never silent. Strange winds moved through the crystal towers, carrying whispers like voices of ghosts. Daniel stood on the balcony, the glowing bond on his wrist pulsing faintly under the twin moons. He felt uneasy, as if someone unseen was watching him. Inside, Lyra was reading ancient texts by the glow of a crystal lamp. Her calm voice filled the room. The bond will test us, Daniel, but if we stand together, we may endure. Saris sat near the window, sharpening a blade, her silver eyes flashing. If he slows us down, we will not endure anything. Daniel sighed. You both keep saying survival. Survival from what? Before either could answer, a loud crack split the night. The balcony rail shattered, a glowing spear shooting past Daniel's head. He fell to the floor as Lyra rushed to shield him. Saris leapt out the window with her blade, her movements fast and fierce. From the shadows below, cloaked figures emerged, their eyes glowing red. The rival clan, Lyra whispered, pulling Daniel to his feet. They want the bond broken. Daniel's heart pounded. By killing me? Lyra's eyes darkened. Yes. Outside, Saris fought like fire, her blade clashing against the attackers, sparks flying under the moonlight. But there were too many, shadows circling her with deadly intent. Daniel's wrist burned, the bond flaring with heat. He felt her anger, her fear, her determination as if it were his own. Without thinking, he grabbed a fallen spear, its weight heavy but familiar this time. When one of the attackers leapt at Lyra, Daniel thrust the weapon forward, blocking the strike. The attacker stumbled back in shock, and the bond pulsed brighter. Daniel gasped. It's giving me strength again. Lyra nodded firmly. Then use it. Together they fought. Daniel clumsy but fueled by the strange energy. Lyra precise and steady. Saris wild and unstoppable. The battle was chaos, light and shadow clashing in deadly rhythm. Finally, as the last attacker fell, the bond glowed like fire, wrapping all three of them in its light. The enemies retreated into the night, their leader's voice echoing. This bond will bring ruin. You cannot protect him forever. Silence fell again, broken only by Daniel's ragged breathing. Saris stood over the fallen attackers, her chest rising and falling with fury. She turned to Daniel, her eyes burning. Do not think this makes you one of us. But her voice trembled, betraying something deeper. Fear, maybe even respect. Lyra touched Daniel's shoulder gently. You stood your ground. You saved me. Daniel swallowed hard, the weight of her words sinking in. I didn't even know what I was doing, he admitted. The bond knew, Lyra whispered. It chooses when to act, when to give. Later, back inside, the sisters argued again, their voices sharp against the night. Saris slammed her blade onto the table. He is a weakness. They will keep coming for him. Lyra's calm voice cut through. No, he is part of us now. The bond strengthens us all. Even you, though you deny it. Sarah spun on her, anger and confusion in her eyes. I felt it too. His strength was mine, my rage was his. How can I accept this? Daniel sat quietly, his wrists still glowing, listening to their words. He realized then that the bond was more than chains. It was a door, one that connected them deeper than any vow of words. That night, when Saris left in frustration, Daniel sat with Lyra under the quiet glow of the crystal lamp. He whispered, "She hates me." Lyra shook her head softly. "She fears you, and herself, more than she hates you." Daniel frowned. "Why?" Lyra's silver eyes softened. "Because bonds reveal truth, and sometimes truth is more frightening than lies." Daniel lay awake long after she left, the words echoing in his mind. He stared at the stars beyond the window, the bond burning faintly on his wrist. The rival clan had tried to kill him, and they would not stop. But the greater threat was not outside, it was inside, between him, Lyra, and Saris. The bond tied them together, but distrust and rivalry could tear them apart. He clenched his fist, whispering to himself, "I can't let that happen." For the first time, Daniel felt a spark of resolve, not just to survive, but to understand. Because if he failed, the bond would not only destroy him, it would destroy them all. The palace was quiet after the attack, but Daniel could not rest. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt the bond pulsing, alive, whispering with emotions that were not his own. Sometimes he felt calm like flowing water, and he knew it was Lyra. Other times, he felt fire, sharp and restless, and he knew it was Saris. The bond did not care about distance. Their feelings ran through him like rivers crossing one heart. One morning, Lyra found him staring at his wrist. "You are trying to understand it," she said softly, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the sun. Daniel nodded. "It's like I can feel you both, even when you're not near. It's overwhelming." Lyra sat beside him, her calm presence like cool air after a storm. "The bond is not only a chain, Daniel, it is a window through we share not only strength but our true selves." Before Daniel could ask more, Saris entered the chamber, her steps quick and her voice sharp. "Stop filling his head with poetry, Lyra. The bond is a curse, not a gift." Lyra turned calmly. "Then why do you feel his strength when you fight?" Saris froze, her eyes flashing. "That was nothing, just an accident." Daniel felt her words, but through the bond he also felt her fear, the truth she tried to hide. He said quietly, "It wasn't nothing. I felt your rage, and you felt mine." Saris's face hardened. "Stay out of my mind, human." But her voice trembled, betraying her. Later that day, Daniel walked the palace gardens with Lyra. She told him stories of their people, how bonds had been sacred for centuries, how they were always between equals, never outsiders, never mistakes. "Then why me?" Daniel asked, frustration in his voice. Lyra looked at the twin moons rising. "Perhaps the fire saw what we cannot yet see." Daniel frowned. "Or perhaps it was just a mistake." Lyra smiled faintly. "Even mistakes can become destiny." That night, Daniel's dreams were filled with strange visions. He saw Lyra's calm face, but behind her eyes was a shadow of doubt. He saw Saris's fiery rage, but deep inside her heart he felt loneliness, a wound hidden under anger. The bond pulled him deeper, showing him things he should not know. When he woke, sweat covered his skin, and the mark on his wrist glowed brighter than ever. The next morning, Saris dragged him to the training grounds again. She tossed him a blade, her eyes challenging. "If you're truly part of us, prove it, fight me." Daniel raised the weapon, tired of her endless scorn. They clashed, her strikes fast and sharp, his defenses clumsy but growing stronger. With every blow, the bond flared, giving him speed and power. But this time something different happened. He felt her anger spilling into him, and his calm leaking into her. Her strikes slowed, her face twisted in confusion. "What is this?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Daniel lowered his blade slowly, breathing hard. "It's the bond. It doesn't just share strength. It shares feelings, maybe even memories." "Lyra, who had been watching, stepped forward, her calm eyes serious. "Then you have seen the truth," she said. "The bond does not only tie bodies, it ties souls." Saris dropped her weapon, her voice breaking. "No, I won't let him see me. I won't let him know." She turned away quickly, but Daniel already felt the weight of her loneliness in his chest. It wasn't anger that fueled her. It was fear of being left behind. That evening, as the twin moons rose again, Daniel found Saris alone in the garden. Her back was turned, her shoulders tense. "You don't have to hide," Daniel said softly. "I can already feel it, your pain." She spun around, fury in her eyes. "You know nothing about me." Daniel shook his head. "Maybe not with words, but the bond shows me enough. You're not just angry, you're afraid." For a moment, Saris looked ready to strike him, but then her eyes softened, her voice low, afraid of losing everything, afraid of being nothing. The bond pulsed warmly between them, and Daniel felt her pain ease, just a little. From the balcony above, Lyra watched them in silence, her calm face unreadable. She felt the bond too, the growing connection between her sister and the human. And though she was calm, a shadow of fear moved quietly in her heart. That night, as Daniel lay awake, he realized the truth. The bond was not a mistake. It was changing all of them. Lyra's calm, Saris's fire, and his own human heart. They were no longer separate. They were becoming one, and whether that led to love, unity, or destruction, he could not yet know. The council chamber was silent when Daniel, Lyra, and Saris stood before the elders. The glowing bond on Daniel's wrist pulsed brightly, as if it already knew what was coming. The eldest counselor rose, her silver eyes sharp as blades. "The bond between human and sisters has caused unrest. Whispers spread through the clans. Some call it sacred, others call it dangerous." Her voice echoed through the chamber. "To prove your unity, you must face the trial of union." Daniel's chest tightened. "Trial," he whispered. Lyra bowed calmly. "We accept." Saris glared at the council, fire in her eyes. "We do not need trials to prove what is already bound." But the counselor raised her hand, silencing her. "Refusal means death for him and dishonor for you both." Daniel's heart sank, trapped again by choices that were not his own. That night, before the trial, the three sat together in uneasy silence. Lyra finally spoke, her voice steady. "The trial is not just a test of strength. It is a test of trust. We must move as one, or we will fall." Sarah scoffed. "Trust? With him?" Daniel's frustration boiled over. "You keep acting like I asked for this, but I didn't. I'm here because of one mistake, and I've been fighting to survive every day since." His voice shook, but his eyes were firm. "If we don't stand together, we're all dead." For a moment, even Saris had no reply. The bond pulsed softly, carrying the truth of his words into their hearts. The next dawn, they were led into the trial ground. It was a labyrinth, endless walls of glowing crystal twisting under the twin suns. The gates closed behind them with a heavy echo, and the air shimmered with strange energy. A voice from above announced, "The trial begins. Find the heart of the labyrinth, or be consumed." They moved cautiously, the crystals humming with power, shadows shifting like living things. At first, the paths seemed clear, but soon illusions began to play tricks on them. Daniel saw visions of his old life, his family on Earth calling to him. Lyra pulled him back sharply. "It is not real," she said firmly. Her touch broke the illusion, and he gasped. It felt so true. Lyra's eyes softened. "That is the test, to see if you can tell truth from lies." Later, Sarah suddenly stopped, her body tense. Before them stood a vision of her late father, his voice gentle. "You have failed me, Saris. You let strangers taint our blood." Saris trembled, rage and grief battling inside her. Daniel stepped forward, his voice steady. "That's not him. It's a trick. Don't let it control you." Through the bond, he pushed his own strength into her, calming the fire inside her chest. Saris gasped. The vision shattered, and she turned to him with wide eyes. You helped me. Daniel nodded. Because if you fall, I fall too. The labyrinth grew darker as they pushed forward, the walls shifting, paths closing behind them. At one point, they were separated, Daniel alone in a hall of mirrors. Each reflection showed a different version of him. Weak, broken, lost. The bond burned, and he felt Lyra's calm voice inside his mind. You are not alone, Daniel. He closed his eyes, trusted the bond, and walked straight through the mirror, shattering it into light. On the other side, Lyra and Ceres waited, both shaken but alive. Finally, they reached the center of the labyrinth, a vast chamber with a glowing crystal heart. But the ground shook, and from the shadows rose a beast made of living stone and fire, its roar shaking the walls. The voice of the council echoed, "Face it together, or perish." The creature charged, massive and unstoppable. Daniel raised his blade. Ceres leapt with fire in her strikes. Lyra moved with calm precision. At first, they fought separately, their attacks clashing but uncoordinated. The beast struck them back with crushing force, nearly shattering their will. Daniel gasped, "We can't fight like this, not apart, together." The bond pulsed, burning brighter than ever, linking their strength, their minds, their hearts. Lyra's calm guided them. Ceres's fire fueled them. Daniel's resolve held them. Their strikes became one rhythm, one force, the beast staggering under their unity. With a final combined blow, they shattered the creature into shards of light, the labyrinth walls trembling and collapsing into nothingness. When the light cleared, they stood together, the crystal heart glowing softly before them. The bond on their wrists flared once, brighter than the sun's, and then settled into a steady hum. The council's voice echoed again. The trial is complete. The bond is proven. Your unity is real. Daniel fell to his knees, exhausted, but for the first time, he felt something different. Not fear, not shame, but belonging. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, her calm smile warm. You did well. Ceres looked at him, her silver eyes softer than ever before. Maybe you're not as useless as I thought. Daniel laughed weakly. I'll take that as a compliment. As they left the trial ground, the bond glowed gently between them. No longer chains, no longer just a mistake. It was becoming something else, something powerful, something real. And though danger still waited beyond the palace walls, Daniel knew one thing for certain. He was no longer alone. The trial of union was over, but its echoes still lived in Daniel's heart. He could still feel the weight of the labyrinth walls, the fire of the beast, and the strength that had flowed through him when he and the sisters finally fought as one. When they returned to the council chamber, the elders rose in silence, their glowing eyes fixed on the three of them. At last, the eldest counselor spoke, her voice calm but heavy with authority. The bond has been tested, and it has endured. The clans must now honor what the fire has chosen. A murmur swept through the chamber, some voices still doubtful, others filled with awe. But the law was clear, the bond was proven, and no clan could now deny its power. Daniel stood tall, though exhaustion weighed on him, Lyra by his side like calm light, Ceres like fire at his back. For the first time, he did not feel like an outsider. He felt like part of something greater. That night, the palace celebrated. Glowing lanterns filled the skies, and songs of victory echoed through the crystal streets. Yet in Daniel's heart, there was no simple joy, only a deep awareness that his life was forever changed. Lyra walked beside him through the celebration, her voice gentle. You see, Daniel, even mistakes can become destiny. He smiled faintly. I think I'm starting to believe that. Ceres joined them. Her usual fire softened, though she still spoke with sharpness. Don't think the trial means I trust you completely, human, but you fought well. You stood with us when it mattered. Daniel chuckled softly. I'll take that as progress. Through the bond, he felt something new from her. Not just anger or pride, but a flicker of respect, even affection. It surprised him, but it also gave him hope. In the days that followed, life slowly began to change. The people of the city no longer whispered with only suspicion when Daniel passed. Children came near him, curious about the human who had survived the trial. Merchants offered him gifts of glowing fruit. Warriors saluted him, not as an equal yet, but no longer as a stranger. The sisters walked with him openly, their bond visible to all. But not all accepted this peace. Shadows still moved in the corners of the city. Rival clans who had failed to break the bond now plotted in silence. Daniel knew the danger was not gone, only waiting. Yet he no longer feared it the same way, for he had seen what unity could do, and he knew he was not alone. One night, standing under the twin moons, Daniel faced the sisters. "I don't know what the future holds," he said quietly, "but I know one thing, I'll stand with you both whatever comes." Lyra's calm smile warmed him. "Then you are already one of us." Saris looked at him, her eyes still sharp but softer than he had ever seen. "Just don't make me regret it." Daniel laughed softly. "I'll do my best." The bond glowed between them, steady and strong. Not chains, but threads of light that bound three hearts together. They were not just human and alien anymore, not just strangers forced into a vow. They were something new, something the clans had never seen before. And though the path ahead was filled with danger and uncertainty, Daniel felt a strange peace. The mistake at the altar had become his fate, and fate had become a beginning. As the lanterns rose into the sky and the city sang songs of unity, Daniel whispered to himself, "This is no longer just survival, this is home."